worship is also a convicted felon.
We're here in Sunset Park to worship and bring back the greatest president we've ever known.
This is a new era in America, and I think it goes against the ilk of who we are as Americans. In the end, this jury of ordinary people from Delaware were not intimidated by that family.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
All right.
I guess I would. I think that less so. But you know what I'd do if there was a shark or you get electrocuted? I'll take electrocution every single time.
You know, battle by day, love at night, which needs birth control and dental dams.
You can't make this up. Welcome to Street Politics. My name is Reese Waters. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the page. Now, I put out a poll this week asking if you guys would want me to do a grab bag of all the crazy MAGA-isms on the internet and that you see on TV.
The Democrats were the ones that were for slavery. The Democrats were the ones that came up with the Jim Crow stuff.
Even if all of that were true about slavery, which party flies the Confederate flag today?
A lot of the Democrats.
A lot more people need dragging than I typically have time and space for, so why not just get a bunch of them out of the way? And by the way, there was one video in particular that made me want to do this.
See you later.
Out here acting like me walking into senior prom. I know nobody wanted me there. I know I didn't have no date, but I'm an actor part anyway because I know cameras is on me. I know that trick. Now, I obviously wanted to address this, but I couldn't pull it out into a whole video, so this is the perfect forum for it. By the way, send me what you think the name of this segment should be. I'm unsure if I should go with You So MAGA or like MAGA So Crazy, almost like You So Crazy, Martin Lawrence's joint back in the day that my mother would have whipped my behind if she knew I was listening to that tape. While we're on the topic of Donald Trump.
Because of MIT, my relationship to MIT, very smart. He goes, I say, what would happen if the boat sank from its weight and you're in the boat and you have this tremendously powerful battery and the battery's now underwater and there's a shark that's approximately 10 yards over there. By the way, a lot of shark attacks lately. Do you notice that? A lot of shark. I watched some guys justifying it today. Well, they weren't really that angry. They bit off the young lady's leg because of the fact that they were not hungry, but they misunderstood who she was. These people are crazy. He said there's no problem with sharks. They just didn't really understand a young woman swimming now who really got decimated, and other people too, a lot of shark attacks. So I said, so there's a shark 10 yards away from the boat, 10 yards, or here. Do I get electrocuted? If the boat is sinking, water goes over the battery, the boat is sinking. Do I stay on top of the boat and get electrocuted? Or do I jump over by the shark and not get electrocuted? Because I will tell you, he didn't know the answer. He said, you know, nobody's ever asked me that question. I said, I think it's a good question. I think there's a lot of electric current coming through that water. But you know what I'd do if there was a shark or you get electrocuted? I'll take electrocution every single time. I'm not getting near the shark.
This man's so wild, we had to get him an interpreter, and shout out to Midas Touch for this one.
So I said, let me ask you a question. And he said, nobody ever asks this question, and it must be because of MIT. My relationship to MIT, very smart. He goes, I say, what would happen if the boat sank from its weight, and you're in the boat, and you have this tremendously powerful battery, and the battery is now underwater, and there's a shark that's approximately 10 yards over there. By the way, a lot of shark attacks lately. Did you notice that? A lot of shark. I watched some guys justifying it today. Well, they weren't really that angry. They bit off the young lady's leg because of the fact that they were not hungry, but they misunderstood who she was. These people are cray, he said. There's no problem with sharks, they just don't really understand. A young woman swimming now really got decimated, and other people too. A lot of shark attacks. So I said, so there's a shark 10 yards away from the boat, 10 yards, or here. Do I get electrocuted if the boat is sinking and water goes over the battery, the boat is sinking? Do I stay on top of the boat and then get electrocuted? Or do I jump over by the shark and not get electrocuted? Because I'll tell you, I didn't know the answer, he said. You know, nobody's ever asked me that question. I said, I think it's a good question. I think there's a lot of electric current going through that water. But you know what I'd do? If there was a shark or if you get electrocuted, I'd take electrocution every single time. I'm not getting near the Shah.
You know, I think I prefer the second one. Yeah, I think I prefer the second version. It just has more feeling, you know? Donald, I just didn't really believe your reading, you know? Why don't you try something else?
Would you declassify the 9/11 files?
Yeah.
Would you declassify JFK files?
Yeah.
Would you?
I did a lot of it.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
All right.
I guess I would. I think that less so because, you know, you don't know. You don't want to affect people's lives if it's phony stuff in there because there's a lot of phony stuff with that whole world.
Wow. You have been out here lying for decades and you're this bad at it. I would think with 50 years experience of anything that you would be much better than that. What is it, 10,000 hours that Malcolm Gladwell said you need to become an expert? You have well over 10,000 hours of outright lying. I expect better from you. I really do. I expect better from you. I mean, how have you navigated all those divorces not being able to lie better than that? I mean, what were you saying when you coming home after seeing Marla Maples when Ivana started asking questions? No, I was not with Ivana. Well, I don't really want to say because it's a lot of phony stuff with Marla Maples, and I don't want people to get involved with that phony stuff. That can ruin lives.
You don't want to affect people's lives if it's phony stuff in there because there's a lot of phony stuff with that whole world. But I think I would, or at least
Do you think that would restore trust? Help restore trust?
Yeah, I don't know about Epstein so much as I do the others.
9/11, yeah. JFK, I'm with you. Jeffrey Epstein, yeah. Well, Why would Donald Trump be so circumspect about exposing the secrets of Jeffrey Epstein, a billionaire child sex trafficker who died in prison, without revealing which of his well-connected elite friends knew about and possibly even participated in his revolting and illegal activities? Who you can see here joking and ogling women at a New York party in 1992 with a local financier named Donald Trump. I've known Jeff for 15 years. Terrific guy, Trump once told New York Magazine. He's a lot of fun to be with. It is even said he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side.
And Fox News made it even worse by trying to hide it. They cut that part out of rebroadcast of the interview.
Would you declassify the 9/11 files?
Yeah.
Would you declassify JFK files?
Yeah.
Would you?
I did a lot of it.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
Attorney General.
Which just draws more attention to it. How have you guys not learned this by now? Y'all look like me when I was 8 and I took all of the Oreo cookies from downstairs and hid them in my closet and then moved my dresser drawer in front of my closet so nobody could get to it. You think that's a little hot? I'm just saying, you think that's a little hot. And Fox News really is on a roll here. This whole segment could have been named after them.
She's imprinted on the country permanently that she is a really shallow, uneducated, and uneducatable person, and that other than her weird laugh, there's no really significant part to her. Now,
you know, I wonder what it is about her that gives the air of shallow and uneducated. I wonder could it be the law degree? Could it be the law degree that gives the air of shallow and uneducated? Could it be being a former U.S. Senator or perhaps Attorney General? I'm not entirely sure what it is about Kamala Harris that makes her have no redeeming qualities other than a weird laugh. I can't imagine, Newt. I can't imagine what that is.
And I got to tell you, if they become the majority, we're in trouble. I mean, do you want people whose motto is, and they took this right out of the 50s and 60s, battle by day, love at night, which needs birth control and dental dams.
Dental dams? Dental dams? I haven't heard dental dams since 8th grade family life class. That's the last time I heard dental dams. They really need to get rid of their DEI program at Fox News. They really do. Their DEI program, that's not hitting it. No, that is not hitting it. No, I don't think she has any redeeming qualities other than a very weird laugh. Shallow. Yeah, uneducated.
How does that work? You know, do you want a dance party or do you want to go live in your parents' basement? Like, finesse the language, but home ownership, the American dream, that's what these young people want more than a free beer.
Now, wait, wouldn't the free beer come with the dance party, right? The free beer would come with the dance party, and that's the one that Trump is doing, right? Trump is doing the dance party, so it's a dance party with no free beer? Huh? I'll take the basement. Yeah, I'll take the basement. Yeah, I really would. And what is this about a mortgage and purchasing a house and all that? You mean like the things they would do if they had money that they weren't spending on student loans that you're actively preventing Joe Biden from forgiving? Is that what you mean? And by the way, as bad as all those were, nothing, and I mean nothing, would top this.
This is a new era in America, and I think it goes against the ilk of who we are as Americans and our faith in the criminal justice system. In the end, this jury of ordinary people from Delaware were not intimidated by that family, and they recognized that this was a clear-cut case and that clearly no one's above the law.
This is a very political exercise, and you have to say that it accomplished what it set out to accomplish.
But I would say this about Judge Noreika. I think she ran a very fair courtroom. She ran a very fair trial.
I guess we all need, to shop at Banana Republic from now on? Because that's what it feels like. Yeah, a Banana Republic.
For years, the Bidens have been able to escape any legal accountability for their sleazy, corrupt conduct. But today, their luck ran out. At least Hunter's did.
Power is all they love. And they're willing to do anything to cling to it. They're willing to destroy the rule of law. The Republic has been wounded by weak lawyers and talentless political bloodhounds. It gave me a little boost of confidence in the American legal system, although they still have a lot of work to do to win me back.
I believe that there was a conscious collusion of allies that came together. It's pretty obvious, with a private strategy to eliminate a common shared adversary. Hunter's going to jail, so Joe doesn't have to. And when he comes out, he'll be rewarded for his loyalty, like a made man in a Biden crime family. This is a distraction from the influence peddling and the kickbacks.
The wildest part is they still have news on the front of the desk. Yeah, it's crazy. Tell me you worship the man without telling me you worship the man.
Oh, President Trump is a convicted felon. Well, you want to know something? The man that I worship is also a convicted felon. And he was murdered on a Roman cross.
We're here in Sunset Park to worship and bring back the greatest president we've ever known in our generation.
That's right. You actually said it. You actually said the thing that you are trying to deflect and deny when you get accused of worshiping the man. There it is, right there in 4K. And by the way, I made a whole video about the cult of the convicted felon. You know, the thirsty dude who wore the convicted felon t-shirt on the plane. Make sure you check that out. I'll put the link in the bio. I'm just asking, do y'all have any idea what y'all sound like?
I don't understand why we're here. Because you all, for the longest time, as long as I've been alive, and I'm the son of 2 Republicans, so I've heard this in my household a lot, you're the party of free markets. You believe that Democrats regulate too much, but you've hauled these 3 here to tell them you don't like how they're investing in the free market. You don't like how women make decisions about their bodies, and so you're banning abortions. You don't like how families make decisions to get pregnant, so you're banning IVF. And now you don't like when businesses invest in climate projects. And by the way, it's a little bit ironic because you have done nothing, as long as I've been in Congress, to mitigate against climate chaos. You've contributed by doing nothing to make the risks higher. These folks go out and, in their own investments, mitigate against the risk, make money for the people who work for them, and now you're saying they shouldn't do that.
Which brings us to the worst MAGA of the week.
Republican Senate candidate Larry Hogan in Maryland, and again, I'm asking this in your capacity as one of the co-chairs of the entire Republican Party, and he's a popular former governor in Maryland. He wrote this right ahead of the verdict. He said, quote, "Regardless of the result, I urge all Americans to respect the verdict and the legal process." That is not the Republican Party line at the moment, and in fact, he was attacked by the top Trump advisor, Chris LaCivita, who wrote that he, quote, "just ended your campaign," end quote. Does the Republican National Committee support Larry Hogan for Senate?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I don't support what he just said there. I think it's ridiculous. And I think anybody who's not speaking up in the face of really something that should never again have seen the light of day, a trial that would never have been brought against any other person aside from Donald Trump.
But does the RNC support his bid?
The respect of anyone. Well,
He doesn't deserve the respect of anyone?
He doesn't deserve the respect of anyone in the Republican Party at this point. And quite frankly, anybody in America, if that's the way you feel, that's very upsetting to hear that.
So are you willing to cede the Senate seat in Maryland to the Democratic Party and not support Larry Hogan?
What I'll tell you is that we, of course, want to win as a party, but that is a shame. And I think he should have thought long and hard before he said that publicly.
Are you willing to use Republican Party resources to support his bid or not? It sounds like you're saying you're not.
Well, I'll get back to you on all the specifics monetarily, but what I can tell you is that as the Republican Party co-chair, I think he should never have said something like that. I think that's ridiculous.
Whoa, 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 whoa. I didn't know we had a late entrant. I had no idea, but I think she might have legs. I really think she might have legs. That is crazy. You are out here willing to sacrifice a Senate seat for what crime exactly? The most milquetoast thing that you could have said from the beginning of America's history up until 2016. But all of a sudden, now that's a crazy assertion to make, that you should actually respect a jury's decision. So crazy, in fact, that the head of the RNC is threatening to pull her support for a Republican challenger for a Senate seat. Then had the nerve to try and say he should have thought twice before he said that.
He doesn't deserve the respect of anyone in the Republican Party at this point. And quite frankly, anybody in America, if that's the way you feel, that's very upsetting to hear that.
So are you willing to cede the Senate seat in Maryland to the Democratic Party and not support Larry Hogan?
You think you should have thought twice before you threatened to sacrifice the Senate seat? Huh? You think you should have thought twice? I actually think we need to do a study. Somebody needs to call NIH because it seems apparent that mouth diarrhea is contagious. Yeah, it seems that mouth diarrhea is contagious because we started with Trump and now we get his daughter-in-law who hasn't been around this her whole life. And I'm assuming when she joined the Trump clan as just an innocent young social climber, that she wasn't out here talking this greasy. Now, all of a sudden, she's willing to sacrifice a Senate seat live on CNN because somebody said they should respect a jury's decision and the rule of law. You gotta wonder. But we do have that challenger to the worst MAGA of the week, MSNBC's Katie Tur.
If you want to be an apologist for Donald Trump, that may be your role, but it ain't mine.
I'm just playing. She's still undercover. Katie Tur. She hasn't announced herself yet. Yeah, the worst MAGA of the week, conservative commentator Laura Loomer, who dropped these brain turds after Hunter Biden was found guilty. Now, my first instinct was to drag her to the white meat. That was my first instinct, was to drag her to the white meat. However, in the process of gathering my armaments, I realized how much it was dragging me down to spend any more of my life with Laura Loomer, like either directly or or on the internet. It's almost like you see somebody in the street and you don't want them to touch you. Like I'm just making like a semicircle around her very existence. Virtual or real life, you know? And I feel like the worst punishment of all is her having to move forward day by day as Laura Loomer.
Welcome to hell, mother...
They targeted not just your dad, but also your wife. And I think a lot of people sitting at home would say, well, that's pretty cynical. I mean, this is someone who attacked your own members of your family. And what we learned from this testimony is that not only did Donald Trump know about it, he coordinated it.
Look, I understand, but I knew then it was lies. It was lies then.
But
It's
you didn't
lies
know
now.
Donald Trump himself was
coordinating. Of course I did. I said
it.
he did. It was obvious. And at the end of the day, I'm a big boy.
Texas, I need to holler at you for a second, Texas.
Whose man's is this? I need to know.
Welcome to Street Politics. My name is Reese Waters. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the page. Now, welcome to another edition of the saddest man in America. The first, of course, being Bill Barr. And not to be confused with the saddest woman in America, who is, of course, Nikki Haley.
Over to see me at Mar-a-Lago, sir. I will never run against you. She brought her husband. Where's her husband? Oh, he's away. He's away. What happened to her husband? What happened to her husband? Where is he? He's gone. He knew.
Donald Trump had a rally today. And in that rally, he mocked my husband's military service. And I'll say this. Donald, if you have something to say, don't say it behind my back. Get on a debate stage and say it to my face. If you mock the service of a combat veteran, you don't deserve a driver's license, let alone being president of the United States. Of course, many of the same politicians who now publicly embrace Trump privately dread him. They know what a disaster he's been and will continue to be for our party. They're just too afraid to say it out loud. Well, I'm not afraid to say the hard truths out loud. I feel no need to kiss the ring. I have no fear of Trump's retribution. I'm not looking for anything from him. My own political future is of zero concern. So I hear what the political class says, but I hear from the American people too.
A few moments later.
I put my priorities on a president who's going to have the backs of our allies and hold our enemies to account, who would secure the border, no more excuses, a president who would support capitalism and freedom, a president who understands we need less debt, not more debt. Trump has not been perfect on these policies. I've made that clear many, many times. But Biden has been a catastrophe. So I will be voting for Trump.
But anybody who's surprised that Nikki Haley turned around and endorsed Donald Trump clearly wasn't following her continued antagonism of Black America and her continued assertions that America was never racist, despite the fact that her family was able to immigrate in large part thanks to the work of black folks and the civil rights movement. Her father worked at a HBCU, and she wouldn't even run or serve under her own given name. That's right. If you stay ready to hear garbage out of Nikki Haley's mouth, you don't have to get ready to hear garbage out of Nikki Haley's mouth. However, the saddest man in America right now is none other than Texas Senator Ted Cruz.
In 2024, will you certify the election results? Do you plan to object, or will you accept the results regardless of who wins the election?
So, Caitlin, I got to say, I think that's actually a ridiculous question.
It's a yes or no question, though.
No, it's not.
It's not? It's not? It's not? Because where I'm coming from, it's pretty much a yes or no question. And it's funny you should call it a ridiculous question, because I could make a compilation video of Republicans refusing to answer said yes or no question. In fact, that's actually a pretty good idea. Stay tuned.
Let me explain why it's a ridiculous question. It's not a question. You've ever asked a Democrat that?
Of course.
What Democrat?
But what Democrats?
Hold on a second. What Democrats challenge it?
What Democrats? I know. I've been down this road many times.
But
no Democrat. You cannot compare the two situations. We have talked about that. We've seen the audio of that when they protested on the Senate floor.
But hold on a second.
But has you ever had a sitting president who refused to facilitate the peaceful transition of power, refused to acknowledge that his successor won the presidency?
So, we did have a peaceful transfer of power. I was there on January 20th. I was there on the swearing in.
Barely.
Okay, so first of all, his assertion of, do you ask the Democrats that is hilarious. Like, yeah, man, we caught you with all of the money from the bank. Yeah, it had all of the dye packs in it. It was all over your pants. You left fingerprints all over the door handle when you came in. And at one point, you took your mask off to wink at a young lady who was in line. So we need to ask you exactly where you were this afternoon. Did you ask everybody else that? What you asking me for? Did you ask my brother? Huh? I also have to love, was there a peaceful transfer of power? Oh, okay. So because it didn't work, it's all forgiven. Wow, that is going to be music to the ears of a great number of failed criminals that are currently in prison.
In 2000, Democrats went to the Senate, or 2001, Democrats went to the Senate floor and objected to George W. Bush. In 2004, they went and objected.
And what did the president do?
In 2016, Democrats went and objected to Donald Trump. And so... Look,
and what happened in 2016? Because I remember a guy named Joe Biden was vice president, and he went to the Senate floor and certified the votes.
Ah, yes. Who can't remember in 2001 and in 2004 and also in 2016, all those Stop the Steal rallies that happened after the election and politicians calling around asking if they could find a couple thousand votes, and all of that momentum carrying on into the following election, pushing at a crescendo. I believe it was late 2001 where we all gathered on the National Mall and then ran up onto the Capitol and burst through the windows and had all the lawmakers scurrying. Of course, it didn't work out because we were all wearing skater pants at the time because it was 2001. That's probably why skinny jeans came into fashion.
So you're asking, will you promise no matter what to agree an election is illegitimate regardless of what happens? And that would be an absurd thing to claim. Like, we have an entire election law system that people challenge elections. Elections get overturned. Voter fraud gets proven. That happens all the time. And the media engages in this weird game post-Donald Trump that you insist no voter fraud has ever existed. Why does every state have laws in place to challenge voter fraud if it occurs?
The media
Why do you have election challenges?
This isn't a game. There was no widespread voter fraud.
You only ask Republicans that.
Because it was Republicans who tried to block the transition of power. You have to acknowledge that.
So
we've never seen it on a scale of what happened in 2020, and we've never seen the president refuse. He wouldn't even let Joe Biden get classified briefings at the beginning. I recall that.
So my
question for you again, free and fair election, will you accept the results regardless of who wins?
Look, if the Democrats win, I will accept the result, but I'm not going to ignore fraud regardless of what happens.
Was there fraud in 2020?
Of course there was fraud in 2020.
No, there wasn't, and you still objected.
You know for a fact there was zero voter fraud. Really? What's your basis for that? Show me your evidence.
We've spoken with Governor Kemp. They did 3 hand recounts in the state of Georgia. The director of CISA said that it was the safest, most legitimate election.
But
in
you're
United
saying zero
States
voter
history.
fraud occurred. That's what you
These
just
are
said.
Nothing that would have changed the outcome
Okay,
of that
but that's a
election.
different statement.
But no, it's not, because if
yes,
it wouldn't have
is. You
changed the
said there was no voter fraud.
there was no voter fraud that would have changed the outcome of the election, and you know that, Senator.
This man is a child. This man is a child. Were you saying zero voter fraud occurred? So I mean, you saying zero voter fraud? Well then I can't say that I would certify an election because if there was a voter fraud and but then you saying there. Shut your ass up.
So what I know is that what I stood on the Senate floor and objected, what I called for, I'll tell you, I wrestled with what to do in that circumstance. And the reason I wrestled with it is because I think there was significant voter fraud in 2020. And
You wanted the 10-day commission, I know, but was there voter fraud that would have changed the outcome of the election?
But do you know why I wanted a 10-day commission? Because I tried to look, I'm a Supreme Court litigator. I argue cases in front of the Supreme Court.
I know.
This is a whole lot of words for not being able to answer, was there voter fraud that would have changed the outcome of the election? Whole lot of words. Whole lot of words. It's the sound and fury signifying bullshit.
The best precedent I could find was the election of 1876. 1876 was between Rutherford B. Hayes and Samuel Tilden. And what happened there were serious allegations of voter fraud, and Congress didn't throw its hands up and say, you know what? CNN demanded that I accept the results no matter what, so ignore the fraud. I got to go. But hold on. What did Congress do in 1876?
How did the president handle it?
What did Congress do in 1876?
Senator, I have to know, you can't answer yes or no to this question.
I'm asking a question. What did Congress do in 1876?
You can't answer yes or no to this question. And Republicans,
can you answer my question? Why are you refusing to answer my question?
I'm conducting the interview with all due respect.
This cornball just answered, what did Congress do in 1876? Do you realize how far away we are from you being able to answer either A, if you're going to certify the election, or B, if there was voter fraud that would have changed the election in 2020? You are so far away. You're deflecting and you're ducking and you're dodging, and your cowardice has taken you all the way back to 1876.
I don't know that anyone ever thought the National Enquirer was a reliable news source. I'm not sure aliens arrived yesterday. I'm not sure Elvis is living in Des Moines. And so when they wrote the story, it was absurd. Now I will say, you know, the National Enquirer wrote that my father killed JFK.
Mm-hmm. And he said they mashed two photos together to create.
Yeah, they created a fake photo, and I will say my dad was pretty pissed. And although he laughed about it, but he was still like, what do I do? And I just said, look, Dad, it'll be fine. I will tell you the best response to that happened shortly thereafter. Marco Rubio at the Senate Republican lunch, he actually stood up and told all our colleagues, he said, look, I can tell you for a fact, there is no way that Ted's dad killed JFK. Because if a Cuban had done that, he would have told everyone.
I can't wait to bend the grandkids over my knee and tell them about the good old days where my father got accused of killing JFK. Yeah, a whole assassination of a president. Yeah, that was hilarious, man. Those were the days. And then after that, I'll tell them about how I used to get punched in the face in grade school. Yeah. When I was in college, they used to lead me around campus by my ear.
But when you hear that, I mean, he said he directly tied it to you gaining popularity in the polls. I mean, do you feel like that hurt? People do read that at supermarkets. Do you feel like it hurt your campaign?
It was a rough and tumble race. It was, I will say, Donald Trump and I have a different relationship than most people in Washington, because in 2016, I fought him repeatedly. I beat him over and over and over again in 12 states, but he ultimately prevailed. He beat me.
Yeah, he lied when you beat him the first time in Iowa.
No, I would say you and Donald Trump have a similar relationship, the exact same relationship as he has with the rest of the GOP. He be whooping y'all ass.
And, you know, when he became president, I had a choice to make. I could be pissed. I could be pissed off at what he'd done. But if I was going to do that, he'd just been elected president. I got a job. I got a job to represent 30 million Texans. And frankly, if I was going to let my hurt feelings make me say, I'm not going to work with you, I needed to be prepared to resign my job and go home. And I made a decision then. I said, listen, I'm going to go represent 30 million Texans. I'm going to fight. I got on a plane. I flew to Trump Tower. I sat down with him, spent 4.5 hours. This is the week after the general election in 2016. And what I told him then, I said, Mr. President, we have an historic situation. The voters have given us control of the White House and both houses of Congress. We can't waste this. And I told him then, I said, listen, I want to roll up my sleeves and go to work and lead the effort to deliver on our promises. And as I look back to the Trump presidency, I think we accomplished incredible victories for the American people.
That is the longest, most eloquent explanation of butt kissing I have ever heard.
But this moment, what you said there, you talked about your family. They targeted not just your dad, but also your wife.
That's right, your wife.
And I think a lot of people sitting at home would say, well, that's pretty cynical. I mean, this is someone who attacked your own members of your family. And what we learned from this testimony is that not only did Donald Trump know about it, he coordinated it.
Look, I understand, but I knew then it was lies. It was lies then, it's lies now.
But you didn't know Donald Trump himself was coordinating it.
Of course I did. I said he did. It was obvious.
So if we're scoring at home, it came out of Donald Trump's hush money trial, according to David Pecker, who was in charge of the National Enquirer, that not only was Trump aware of the information that was coming out about Cruz's family and Marco Rubio's family, he was coordinating it. Not to mention, of course, the retweet about Ted Cruz's wife. Yes, he was behind all of this. And what say you, the big man from Texas?
At the end of the day, I'm a big boy. And as I said, I could have made a choice. Listen, if I were a private citizen, I could decide my feelings are hurt and I'm just going to leave. But if I do that, I can't do my job. And I care about my job. And I will say, if you look at the people of Texas, under almost any measure, the people of Texas were much, much better when Trump was president than compared to now. You look at, we passed an historic tax cut. I worked very hard with him on that. It produced incredible economic prosperity. We had the lowest unemployment rate in 50 years.
But do you think of the tactics that he used to get where he was?
I don't like him. I can't stand him.
Do you think he would have been the nominee had he not done stuff like that?
I don't know. I think Donald Trump is a unique character in American history. There are things he says and does that I like. There are things he says and does that I don't like. I'll tell you what millions of Americans love about him is that he's got backbones and guts.
Ah, yes. Backbone and guts. Like the kind of stuff that will have you defending your father and also your wife. You know, not just your family of origin, but your current family as well has been assaulted. And backbone and guts might be the thing that would have you defending them. All that good old backboning. Let me tell you the thing that people love about Donald Trump that I don't exhibit in any capacity. You did all that bending over backwards to do all that massaging of Donald Trump, getting all in the folds, in the front and the back folds, and yet I don't see your name on here nowhere. Nowhere. How is Marco Rubio, you know, the one that had jokes about your dad and JFK? Marco Rubio is on the Trump VP list. Mike Flynn is on there. So apparently you can have a record. Maybe your dad should be on there. Even Nikki Haley is on there, but no Ted Cruz. I need to know how it feels. I need to know how it feels to bend over like a pretzel, have this man run roughshod over your own family, and to what end? To what end? And you know what, Texas? I need to holler at you for a second, Texas. I need to holler at you because I have saw fit to address you a number of times. Some of it's been positive in the case of Jasmine Crockett out there killing it. Some of it has been negative, like in the case of the clearly partisan and low-key, not even low-key, high-key racist pardon of Daniel Perry from your governor, Greg Abbott. Texas, this your man's? Huh? This your man's, right? Because y'all always like to say, don't mess with Texas, right? That's what y'all like to say, don't mess with Texas. Isn't that what Greg Abbott asserted to? Stand your ground laws, right? We defending the homestead, stand your ground laws, don't mess with Texas. This your man's? Huh? This your man won't even defend his own people. Won't even defend his own people. The man went to Mar-a-Lago and had lunch with the man. After he came in his home, slept in his bed, drove his car, and went and showed up to the kids' play. Like, this man just had his way, and he went to Mar-a-Lago and had lunch with the man. That's y'all? I'm talking about the dude who went on vacation when y'all was having a disaster. That dude. Cancun Ted. I'm talking about Cancun Ted. I asked in the beginning, whose man's is this? But we know. It's your man's. What exactly you gonna do about it? Congratulations, Ted Cruz. You are the saddest man in America. If you have anybody you would like to nominate, go ahead and put it in the comments. You can email me at reese.waters@gmail.com. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the page. She also told jurors about when she spanked Trump, quote, right on the butt with a copy of one of his magazines.
The jury's engaged, they're paying attention to the facts.
Sometimes I think with the last testimony, I saw some giggles, obviously. And
Really seemed to relish saying orange turd.
Hi, welcome to Street Politics. My name is Reese Waters. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the page so you get notified when the next video drops. Now, if you're anything like me, you ain't been paying no attention to this Trump hush money trial. And the reason why is simple. The next time this man is held accountable for his actions would be the first. I have absolutely no reason to think that this is the moment in which he finally has to pay for his many, many transgressions.
You can't keep getting away with it! You can't keep getting away with it!
I have no reason to think that any more than I will be watching SVU in the 4th episode of season 8 and be like, oh, is this the time where Olivia finally loses her badge? No. We are in May in an election year. I have absolutely no reason to think that. And for that reason, I ain't really been following the day to day. But that don't mean I don't see these memes. That don't mean I don't see these memes and these jokes. So for those of you that want to get caught up on what everybody else is laughing at, this is what I'm here for you today to present. Let's start with the one and only David Pecker.
Boy, ain't no way, boy. Boy, ain't no way, boy. Boy, ain't no way, boy.
And no, that is not a joke. That is his real life name, who in 1999 took over AMI, which is the publisher of several supermarket tabloids, including Us Weekly and Men's Journal, and most importantly, the National Enquirer. I should probably do a whole video about media conglomerates at some point. I had no idea Men's Journal was out here hanging out with National Enquirer. I had no idea. They got the same pappy. Let me find out that I am getting tabloid workout tips. I had no idea. Well, David Pecker testified that he was asked by Trump and Michael Cohen in August of 2015 at a meeting, quote, what can I do and what can my magazines do to help the campaign? Throughout that meeting, Pecker said he would run and publish positive stories about Trump, negative stories about his opponents, and use AMI's vast network of sources to let Trump and Cohen know if there were any negative stories that could potentially go public, saying, quote, I could be your eyes and ears. And some of these stories that were published about Trump's opponents during that time, quote, bungling surgeon Ben Carson left sponge in patient's brain. Or how about conjoined twins died after Ben Carson's botched operations? Boozing Ted Cruz, destined to lose. Donald Trump blasts Ted Cruz's dad for photo with JFK assassin. Family man Marco Rubio's love child stunner. And last but not least, Senator Marco Rubio's cocaine connection. Marco Rubio, Ben Carson, I don't really need to talk to Ted Cruz because we already know that he has no sense of pride in himself for him not even defending his own wife. But here y'all are, still caping for this. He was complicit in publishing Senator Marco Rubio's cocaine connection. Ben Carson, Mr. Gifted Hands, he talking about you leaving sponges up in people's domes. Y'all should be with Ted Cruz. Y'all go ahead and hang out with Ted Cruz in the no spine section and see if any of Ben Carson's friends could help get them on the implant list. Now, when news of Stormy Daniels' alleged affair with Trump started to come to light, Pecker refused to purchase her story. And yes, I smile a little bit on the inside every time I say Pecker during a hush money trial involving a porn star, saying, quote, I told Michael Cohen after paying the doorman story and the Karen McDougal that I wasn't going to pay anything further, and I wasn't a bank, he testified. There is no possible way I buy the story for 120 grand, and I don't want anything to do with a porn star. Okay, let me first rewind. There was a doorman story that they caught and killed earlier about Trump having a love child. Karen McDougal allegedly had an affair with Trump that goes back years, but she apparently didn't want the story to become public. She just wanted to use it as leverage to get back into the public eye. Okay, now, David Pecker saying, I don't want anything to do with a porn star. How about your mustache, sir? How about your mustache? Does your mustache want anything to do with a porn star? Because it looks like your mustache is very at home with a porn star, as is your surname, sir. You most certainly need to look in the mirror or go ahead and look at your checks that are coming in via AMI and the National Enquirer. Since when is the National Enquirer too good for anybody?
Well, Donald Trump is in the bowels of Manhattan in a courtroom listening to a porn star. I mean, is she even a star? I don't know.
I don't know.
I can confirm that yes, she is in fact. And in that vein, let me say, I'm not going to be holier than thou. I, at this point in my life, have reconciled that most of my heroes, and certainly those involved in politics, and so certainly those with money, wealth, and privilege, are involved in dalliances that wouldn't go over well at Sunday school. I know that at this point. I just assume that at this point, okay? This story on his face, honestly, doesn't really bother me. It really doesn't. It really doesn't bother me whether or not he got it in with Stormy Daniels. What bothers me is the lying. When you insult my intelligence by not admitting the thing that we can all see, that opens up a whole host of other questions of things you might be lying about.
I've met with many, many world leaders. I've traveled around the world. I should not have put that anecdote in the book, and at my request, they have removed it.
That specific meeting didn't happen?
I'm saying that I'm not talking about that meeting. I'm not talking about my meetings with world leaders.
But you
there's
do
some
talk
that are
about
in the
meetings
book.
with world leaders.
There's some that are in the book, and then there's some that's not in the book. Many
but why
of them,
are there
actually.
two specific mentions of meeting Kim Jong-un and talking about him, and a specific memory? I'm sure he underestimated me, having no clue about my experience staring down little tyrants. Did you tell your ghostwriter to write that?
I specifically have worked on policy for over 30 years. And over that time, I have traveled around the world, and I have met with leaders around the world. And that anecdote, I've asked them to change the content, and it will be removed.
It's a simple question. Did you or did you not meet with Kim Jong-un?
That's the answer that I have for you.
Enter Stormy Daniels, who previously told CNN that Trump said she reminded him of as Trump came on to her in a penthouse hotel suite where he answered the door in silk or satin pajamas that reminded her of Playboy mogul Hugh Hefner. And you know, on the inside, he just, yeah, it could have been anybody creepy. She went with Hugh Hefner. Daniels described what was in Trump's hotel room. She described the dinner conversation. She was impressed that Trump asked her about the business of the adult film industry and not just the sex. And that is pretty on brand. He would really be focused on the business aspect of sex. She also told jurors about when she spanked Trump, quote, right on the butt with a copy of one of his magazines.
The jury's engaged, they're paying attention to the facts.
Sometimes I think with the last testimony, I saw some giggles, obviously. And
Daniels then said that after she went to the bathroom, she emerged to find Trump on the hotel bed in his boxers.
The jury's engaged, they're paying attention to the facts.
Sometimes I think with the last testimony, I saw some giggles, obviously.
And a t-shirt. She said that Trump stood up between me and the door, not in a threatening manner. He didn't come at me. He didn't rush at me, nothing like that. But that later led to an encounter during which she said she blacked out.
The jury's engaged, they're paying attention to the facts.
Sometimes I think with the last testimony, I saw some giggles, obviously.
But does remember that it was unprotected.
Boy, ain't no way, boy. Boy, ain't no way, boy. Boy, ain't no way, boy.
So this man is such a germaphobe that he doesn't even want to eat when he's traveling to certain countries, but he out here freewheeling it with a professional? Trump would throw a temper tantrum during Daniels' questioning, and I will defend him here because I really think that there isn't a man walking the earth that wouldn't throw a temper tantrum, having to sit there quiet while somebody told a story of how they handled their business. I think we all would throw a temper tantrum. Like even stuff that's not even like, that's in bounds. Like, yeah, I don't necessarily want her to know I do that thing with my feet. Like, you know what I mean? I'm just saying, we all a little, you know what I mean? He does get a pass on that one. However, Trump's ego needs to be stroked by everybody, and I mean everybody. He made a point because he met Stormy Daniels at a golf tournament. He made a point to confirm that celebrities like Aaron Rodgers, Charles Barkley, and Ben Roethlisberger were at the tournament, but also made sure to get it into the record that he performed well, that he played well at this tournament. This man is in a hush money trial for allegedly paying for silence during a dalliance with a porn star that he met at a golf tournament, and he is focused on people thinking he played well at the golf tournament. That is the level of vanity that we are talking about here. If he handled that poorly, I can't imagine how he handled the late night appearances.
But I think most telling about the testimony today was that this was a masterclass in cross-examination.
Oh, yeah. Let's see how that went.
That's right. That's how Donald Trump's day went today. The woman he has paid more money to than any woman he hasn't married, criminal defense attorney Susan Nicholas, repeatedly called her client, Donald Trump, the orange turd on what she thought was an effective cross-examination of Stormy Daniels. So imagine Donald Trump sitting in that courtroom today, slumped in his chair, leaving his eyes closed for long stretches, being forced to listen with eyes closed or eyes open to one of his criminal defense lawyers on whom he has lavished money provided by his political contributors. Listen to her repeatedly call him the orange turd. And Donald Trump is, of course, the most vain human being who has ever entered that courthouse. But his colossal vanity combined with his even more colossal stupidity leaves us unable to tell what he was experiencing. A normal person couldn't be more humiliated. Donald Trump? Was that the first time he's heard himself referred to as the orange turd?
That was the masterclass? Jeanine Pirro.
This woman, there's something off about her. There really is.
Now, these are the tweets that the defense referenced. And Laura Ingraham was not happy.
You notice that Anderson Cooper really seemed to relish saying orange turd? How many times did he say it? We didn't have the drinking game going, but we might as well have. Again, humiliation of Trump. The only goal here.
apparently by his own lawyer. But of course, you wouldn't let facts get in the way of a trash narrative over at Fox News. So I gotta ask you, why are y'all so mad?
In her 2 days on the stand and in other exhibits entered into evidence, Daniels comes across as not only an angry shrew, but an angry shrew who's also an extortionist.
Oh, I get it now. I get it now, because you worked so hard to get to this point in your life, and you have just sworn complete loyalty and fealty over to Donald Trump. But he's looking over here. He's over here hollering at the Karen McDougal's and the Stormy Daniels. He would never look at you the same way he looks at Stormy Daniels, to the point that finances have even been affected. Money has allegedly changed hands because of how much he's looking over here, and he wouldn't look over here for 2 seconds. I get it. This is just hardcore pick-me behavior. I see you, Laura Ingraham. Well, it's just a matter of time before Trump markets the Trump Daniels tape with a free copy of the Constitution attached, and you can get all of the orange Jesus that you want, including the skin that Stormy Daniels said felt like a 60-year-old, which I guess, given his age, it's actually not bad. Trump faces 34 counts of falsifying business records to hide the repayment to his former lawyer, Michael Cohen, for the $130,000 payment to Daniels. He has denied the charges and the alleged affair, which makes you wonder, what would the motivations be of somebody, not named Laura Ingraham or Jeanine Pirro, of somebody making up an affair with Donald Trump? What would their motivations possibly be?
I'll tell you, Laura, this woman, there's something off about her. There really is.
Now, I'd agree with you there. I will agree with that. First time for everything.
You notice that Anderson Cooper really seemed to relish saying orange turd?
How do you post-date your resignation after you have been pinpointed and arrested with a gun at BWI, headed to Houston for circulating a racist AI recording of the principal using the school's computers? The school's computers? Welcome to an audio edition of Races of the Week. We expose the stupidity and hypocrisy of discrimination in hopes we can build a more perfect union. And also laugh. As usual, I would like to thank today's sponsor, Racism. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the page, and definitely leave me any possible suggestions for nominees in the comments. Our first nominee, former athletic director of Pikesville High School in Maryland, Deshaun Darien. Now let's go back a few months when the principal of Pikesville High School, Eric Eiswert, was getting all the smoke after an audio circulated purportedly containing racist and anti-Semitic remarks.
I'm the principal here, me and only me. I seriously don't understand why I have to constantly put up with these dumbasses here every day. Between these ungrateful black kids who can't test their way out of a paper bag, or these teachers who don't get it, how hard is it to get these students to meet their grade level expectations? Lawrence and Ravenel should have never been hired. And don't let me get started on DJ. I'm going to drag his black ass out of here one way or another. I'm just so sick of the inadequacies of these people. And if I have to get one more complaint from one more Jew in this community, I'm going to join the other side. Kathy, I'm done.
Now that has to be the first racist rant I've ever heard that uses the word inadequacies. I've never heard inadequacies from anybody that's angry. I've heard trifling. I heard can't get right. I heard ain't shit. I have never heard inadequacies. That is a first. Also, just making sure that you're checking all your boxes. You decided to go ahead and go with blacks and Jews. Okay, all right. Just making sure, just in case one wasn't enough, you made sure that you went with both. Okay, well now the former athletic director stands charged with orchestrating a deception using AI. Yes, Artificial intelligence. Forensic analysis of the recording indicated that it contained traces of AI-generated content. A second opinion from another forensic analyst at the University of California, Berkeley confirmed the recording wasn't authentic. Bro, AI, man. AI. You decided to go to AI and didn't even pay for the advanced kind. You was still on the free trial version of AI that they would discover immediately. And you know why I know you was on the trial version? And you know how I know you was on the trial version? Because he not even that mad in the audio. Like, he not even that mad. In order to take him past like a 6 or a 7, you had to at least pay for a monthly subscription. You couldn't even do that. Put some effort into your deception. This is trifling, or dare I say, inadequate. Baltimore County Police would apprehend Darian at BWI Airport. That's where you messed up at. That's where you messed up at. Because the reason why people in the DMV choose BWI is because it moves quickly and it's never too crowded. If you would have gone to Dulles, they probably would have said, hey, we spotted Deshaun Darian at Dulles. They were like, he got it. He got it. We didn't want to go out there. I don't even think we have police cruisers with enough gas to go out to Dulles. Just trifling. Or dare I say, inadequate. Darian attempted to board a flight to Houston and was found in possession of a firearm, prompting his arrest on multiple charges related to the fabrication of audio recordings impersonating the principals. So you decided, you know what, if they arrest me, let me make sure that I have some other potential charges on the way. Or were you thinking you would just John Wick your way out of the window seat in 14F? Was that your plan? And your getaway involved Houston. You didn't try to go to Mexico. He didn't try to go to Costa Rica. He didn't try to go nowhere with no extradition treaty. You went to Houston. What, you thought Jay Prince was going to protect you? Jay Prince can't even protect Drake. I don't understand what your plan was, sir. Now, police wrote in charging documents that Darian had accessed the school's network on multiple occasions in December and January, searching for open AI tools and used large language models that practice deep learning. They also connected Darian to an email account that had distributed the recording. You use the school's computers, dog? Huh? Let me find out. You use the school's computers to put together AI to slander the school's principal. You didn't even bother to take this home. Bro, if I was on this jury, whatever the sentence is, I would double it for using the school's computers. The school's computers? Now, according to Baltimore County Police Chief Robert McCullough, Darian's arrest came after investigations revealed his involvement in creating and disseminating the audio clips that falsely portrayed Iceword. The recording circulated on social media platforms in January, inciting public outrage and led to Iceword's temporary removal from his position. Darian, 31, now faces charges of disrupting school activities, theft, and retaliating against a witness. Police allege that Darian's motive stemmed from an ongoing investigation initiated by Principal Iceword into irregular payments made to a school athletics coach who also happened to be Darian's roommate. Police say that he authorized a $1,916 payment to the school's junior varsity basketball coach under the pretense that he was an assistant girls soccer coach, which he wasn't. The principal also raised concerns about Darian's performance at work and suggesting the possibility of not renewing his contract for the school year. Now let's go in reverse chronological order. So the principal was concerned about Darian's performance at work and suggested not renewing his contract for the following year, when in reality, you are spending work hours searching for AI large language models on the school's computer while they paying you to be the athletic director. Sounds like he had a point. I don't know. Sounds like he had a point. And let me find out. So you sent this payment to somebody who happened to be your roommate. Did you just pay your rent with school money? Huh? Did you just pay your rent with school money and thought nobody was going to find out? You thought nobody was going to find out that he just went and paid his rent with school money. Now, this is the kicker, right? This is the kicker. So after you done already done dirt with the situation with the roommate, you decide to go to AI to slander the principal for correctly calling you out for being inadequate during your work hours. You did all this because you was doing dirt. Tell me the logic and tell me the justice. Tell me the justice. Now, the fallout from the fabricated recordings was significant as they triggered a barrage of hate-filled messages on social media, inundated the school with disruptive phone calls, and prompted heightened security measures due to concerns for staff safety. The incident not only tarnished Iceworth's reputation, but also strained trust between teachers and school administrations, as you can imagine something like that would. Now, Shayna Ravenel, who was mentioned on the tape, told police that she had forwarded the email to a student's cell phone who she knew would rapidly spread the message around various social media outlets and throughout the school. She also sent it to the media and the NAACP. Now, both Darian and Ravenel have submitted their resignations to the school system according to an April 16th school board document. However, the resignations are dated June 30th. Now, let me go with Miss Ravenel because I feel a little bit of compassion for her situation. She was given an audio recording purportedly of the principal where her name was mentioned that was critical of both blacks and Jews. And she decided, let me go get the word out. And she had to admit it because obviously she's talking to the FBI. Now, because of her complicity in distributing a false tape, she decides that she needs to resign. She should sue you. She should come for you. I would say she should go get your computer at home, but apparently you ain't had no computer at home. I don't know what you got at home. Apparently it was worth paying your rent with school money. Now for Mr. Darian, you remember that part about the resignations being dated June 30th? How do you post date your resignation after you have been pinpointed and arrested with a gun at BWI, headed to Houston for circulating a racist AI recording of the principal? This man submitted a post-dated resignation. They supposed to pay you in cell block 2? Huh? How much should they dock you for being in cell block 2 while you on company time? Huh? How much should they dock you for that? Now you might be asking yourself, well, I get that it was a false alarm, but if Iceworth didn't actually say anything, then why would this be Racist of the Week material? It's Racist of the Week material because the next time something like this happens, and we know things like this do occur, we have more than enough evidence to know people having these kinds of sentiments in very powerful positions in all levels of government and our education system. But guess what now? They got something to point to call it a false alarm. You got the NAACP involved. You got media involved on this racist audio tape of this principal, which ends up being false. So do you think this helps or hurts our cause, huh? Do you think this is something that helps or hurts our cause? And what was the reason? What was the reason that you felt the need to press the racism button? Because you decided to pay your rent with school money. Because you decided to pay your rent with school money. Now you done moved the wheels of justice inappropriately, which means they'll have to justify the next time the wheels of justice gets moving. I'm sure it's not gonna be long. I'm just saying, hell yeah, this dude is Racist of the Week and ain't and trifling and inadequate. Now, staying in the state, my home state, mind you, we are down bad, Maryland. Congressman David Trone was in the crab pot earlier this year after he used a racial slur during a congressional budget hearing. Now, he's not an official nominee yet, but I need y'all to make the call, okay? Should he be a nominee for Racist of the Week?
So this Republican jigaboo that, it's a tax rate that's stopping business investment, it's just completely faulty by people who've never run a business. They've never been there. They have not a clue what they're talking about.
Man, that's old school. That is old school right there. That's out there with Tar Baby. Like that's out there with the kind of stuff that just makes me laugh. Like, I don't even feel offended. I am shocked that you have survived this long. That is something. Now, according to his team, he intended to use a similar sounding term unrelated to the offensive term, which I'm assuming is bugaboo. Now that does make more sense. That does make more sense that you meant to use bugaboo, except why was jigaboo in your brain? I will give you that you probably meant to say something else, but why did your brain go and grab jigaboo? I have questions. That's all I'm saying. I have questions. At no point in my 4 decades on this earth have I accidentally said jigaboo. Have you accidentally said jigaboo? This is where I need a judgment call from you guys, because I will give him that he probably didn't mean to say that, but you said it, and I need to know why that's something that flows so freely out of your mouth. But you guys let me know in the comments what we do with Congressman David Trone, and will he join Bama Deshaun Darien as our Racist of the Week nominees? And of course, if you have somebody you would like to nominate, go ahead and leave it in the comments. You can email me at reese.waters@gmail.com, and be sure to subscribe to the page to make sure you get notified when the next video drops.
He specifically said, if it's not fair, as you're saying, you have to fight for the right of the country. And just this week, he said that he won Wisconsin falsely, Senator. So again, to the point, you voted to certify the election results of 2020. It's the exact opposite of what you said and did after 2020. Why would you want to be on a ticket with someone where there's such a fundamental difference?
Translation, this man done dog walked you for over a year. Said you were better for him than you were for yourself. You used to be the first black senator elected from the South since Reconstruction. Now look at you, buck dancing at Mar-a-Lago. Do you have any pride in yourself? Where are your friends? Hi, welcome to Street Politics. I am Reese Waters. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the page. So you remember the last time we checked in on Donald Trump's black friend, Tim Scott?
It's a shame. It's a shame. Uh-oh.
I just love you. Well, this may be hard to believe, but the simping for Trump has gotten worse.
You were there for what is being described as an audition to be a potential VP pick with former President Donald Trump. So let me just ask you, did you discuss with the former president the possibility of being his running mate, Senator?
No, man. What we talked about this weekend was how bad the economy is.
About being President Trump's VP. Did it come up at all? Do you think you're on his short list?
I hope that the president will choose a person who helps the country unite and heal. I certainly expect to have a decision from President Trump in the next 60 days or so, but he did not bring it up. I certainly didn't bring it up.
Wait a minute. You ain't doing all this to be VP? You just doing all this shucking and jiving for nothing?
I have to say, this is in a very positive way, Tim Scott. He has been much better for me than he was for himself. I watched his campaign and...
Bruh, if I can call you that.
No, man. What we talked about this weekend was how bad the economy is for single parents like the one that raised me. We had a lot of conversations around the room about the importance of eliminating Bidenomics, about the importance of getting inflation back down to 2%. We were just better off under President Trump. Inflation, Kristen, was at 2%, and we had the lowest unemployment rates for African Americans, for Hispanics, for Asians, a 70-year low for women. We had the highest most funding for historically black colleges and universities in the history of the country under President Trump. So we were excited to have a conversation. We had no conversations about the VP pick, to be honest with you, to be clear, but we had a lot of conversations about the failures of Joe Biden and the success of Donald Trump.
A couple of points on the economy. Of course, the inflation rate has come down significantly from its high in 2022. In terms of black unemployment, it was actually at its lowest rate last year, 4.7% in April of 2023.
Just think for a moment. You know how bad it is that the two things you always point to about black people and Trump were better under Biden? You know how bad that is? I just want you to think about how bad that is. Always talking about lowest black unemployment. It was lower under Biden. HBCU funding. It was more under Biden. You know how bad that is? That'd be like saying, hey, we may have gotten swept, but it was competitive. It was competitive. It was the most competitive sweep in the history of the NBA playoffs. Sorry to my Lakers fans. Sorry. Of course, that was last year. They won one game this year.
He specifically said, if it's not fair, as you're saying, you have to fight for the right of the country. And just this week, he said that he won Wisconsin falsely, Senator. So again, to the point, you voted to certify the election results of 2020. It's the exact opposite of what you said and did after 2020. Why would you want to be on a ticket with someone where there's such a fundamental difference?
Translation. This man done dog walked you for over a year, said you were better for him than you were for yourself. You used to be the first black senator elected from the South since Reconstruction. Now look at you, buck dancing at Mar-a-Lago. Do you have any pride in yourself? Where are your friends?
He specifically said, if it's not fair, as you're saying, you have to fight for the right of the country. And just this week, he said that he won Wisconsin falsely, Senator. So again, to the point, you voted to certify the election results of 2020. It's the exact opposite of what you said and did after 2020. Why would you want to be on a ticket with someone where there's such a fundamental difference?
There is clear facts here. President Trump himself said he expects this election to be fair, he expects it to be honest, and he expects to win. That's what the presidential candidate should expect, and I expect the exact same thing. And frankly, the American people agree with him. This is an issue that is not an issue, so I'm not going to make it an issue.
Translation. Why are you bringing up old stuff? Why are you bringing up, that was in the past. No, I changed. See, that's the problem with y'all. Y'all always trying to break up somebody else's relationship. See, me and Donald, we got a thing going. We got a good relationship. As long as he happy and I'm happy, that's the only thing that matters.
Well, Senator, will you commit to accepting the election results of 2024? Bottom line.
Well, at the end of the day, the 47th president of the United States will be President Donald Trump.
That's not an answer.
And I'm excited to get back to low inflation, low unemployment.
Wait, Senator, yes or no? Yes or no? Will you accept the election results of 2024 no matter who wins?
That is my statement.
That's not an answer.
But is it just yes or no? Will you accept the election results of 2024?
I look forward to President Trump being the 47th president.
Once again, not an answer.
Kristen, you can ask him multiple times.
Senator, just a yes or no answer.
So the American people will make the decision.
But I don't hear you committing
for President Trump. That's clear.
I don't hear you committing to the election results.
Here's the challenge.
Will you commit to accepting the election results?
This is why so many Americans believe that NBC is an extension of the Democrat Party.
Did you hear what he just said? Did you hear what he just said? NBC is an extension of the Democratic Party. Now, why would you say a thing like that? You know, because they own MSNBC, that would be reasonable. No, because you asked if you would accept the election results. So because she asked if you would accept the election results, that makes you an extension of the Democratic Party. So are you ceding that a core tenet of the Republican Party is not accepting the election results? Is that what you're saying, Tim Scott? Because that's what it sounds like you're saying.
At the end of the day, I've said what I've said, and I know that the American people, their voices will be heard, and I believe that President Trump will be our next president. It's that simple.
You also believe it's a flex to mention Trump statistics that were better under Biden. You believe that we were all fooled by you and Mindy. Clearly, your judgment ain't the best.
But, Senators, you know, the hallmark of our democracy is that both candidates agree to a peaceful transfer of power. So I'm asking you, as a potential VP nominee, will you accept to commit to the election results in this election cycle, no matter who wins?
I'm old enough to remember when this was a softball question. I'm old enough to remember when asking if you would accept election results was like asking, do you want tea or coffee, as you sit here and conduct this interview. But here we are in 2024, and it's contentious. Thanks, MAGA.
Just simply yes or no.
I expect President Trump to win the next election. Listen, I'm not going to answer your hypothetical question.
Hypothetical question. Hypothetical question. He called, will you accept the election results, a hypothetical question. Wow. So I don't know how he has conversations with anybody at this point. Hey, Tim Scott, what you want for breakfast? Why are you asking hypothetical questions? You know what I mean? Are you going to run today? Well, yes, that is a hypothetical. Hey, Tim Scott, I saw Donald Trump went down to Harlem. You think he might have met a new black friend? Don't you ask me that. Don't you ask me that.
Will you commit to accepting the election results of 2024? Bottom line. Wait, Senator, yes or no? Yes or no? Will you accept the election results of 2024 no matter who wins? But is it just yes or no? Will you accept the election results of 2024? Senator, just a yes or no answer.
So the American people will make the decision.
But I don't hear you committing
for President Trump. That's clear.
I don't hear you committing to the election results.
Here's the challenge.
Will you commit to accepting the election results? But, Senators, you know, the hallmark of our democracy is that both candidates agree to a peaceful transfer of power. So I'm asking you, as a potential VP nominee, will you accept to commit to the election results in this election cycle, no matter who wins? Just simply yes or no.
In total, he dodged that question 6 times. 6 times he refused to say he would honor the results of the 2024 election. And if that's what he's saying to please his friend, Donald Trump, you already know it's because that's what he wants to hear. Because that's exactly what he's prepared to do. So tell me again who the real threat to democracy is, Bill Barr. Link in the bio.
And I think all this stuff about a threat to democracy, I think the real threat to democracy is the progressive movement and the Biden administration.
The Biden administration or President Biden himself?
Biden's support for the progressive agenda.
The man has already said he thinks it's rigged if he doesn't win.
I believe I'm doing well. You know, the polls are all rigged. Of course, lately they have been rigged because I'm winning by so much. I don't want to say it. Disregard that statement.
He already admitted his game. He even thought the Emmys were rigged when he lost that. He thinks the trials are rigged too, as if they've been rigging trials against Donald Trump going back to what, the 70s? Because you've been in litigation since the 70s. You had a line of people to get paid by you since at least the early 80s. Apparently all of that is rigged, and you actually have people that will show up and double down on this nonsense rhetoric.
Because it seems to me that they're trying to use the law in the courts. They've clearly politicized this thing with Donald Trump because they can't come up with a strategy to offset the momentum he's clearly gained.
Now, South Carolina,
wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up out of your sleep.
I have to ask you a question because you put this man in the Senate to work for you. And clearly, he's working for somebody else.
This is a nice one. Is Laura Trump as stupid as she appears to be? What is it that's stupid? Let me ask you that.
Well, let's find out.
We have lawsuits in 81 states right now. We now have the ability at the RNC not just to have poll watchers, people standing in polling locations, but people who can physically handle the ballot.
They used to refer to Lara Trump before she married Eric as Horseface.
Man, just run the intro. As we've seen various Trump underlings debase themselves in service of Donald, I want to take a moment to process a new Trump application. She's been putting in hours of work, ruining her credibility and her good name, or I should say anonymous name. Y'all know her maiden? I didn't think so. To help Donald Trump win re-election. This is somebody who hired Christina Bobb to run election integrity fresh off an indictment. She's even out here attacking Trump's attackers.
Yes, if you want to look at a family, and I'll say a man in Donald Trump who has had nothing but misinformation and disinformation, as they like to say on the other side of the aisle, thrown at him every single day. I mean, there's never been anyone in history, I don't think, that has taken as much incoming as Donald Trump.
And if anything should endear her to Donald, it's her lack of knowledge of U.S. history.
Theirs was much worse. It's where the Army weathered its brutal winter at Valley Forge, where General George Washington led his men on a daring mission across the Delaware, and where our Union was saved by the immortal heroes at Gettysburg. Gettysburg, what an unbelievable battle that was, the Battle of Gettysburg. What an unbelievable, I mean, it was so much and so interesting and so vicious and horrible and so beautiful in so many different ways. It represented such a big portion of the success of this country. Gettysburg, wow.
Who cares that multiple presidents have been assassinated?
Yes, if you want to look at a family, and I'll say a man in Donald Trump who has had nothing but misinformation and disinformation, as they like to say on the other side of the aisle, thrown at him every single day. I mean, there's never been anyone in history, I don't think, that has taken as much incoming as Donald Trump.
Laura, what else can you tell us?
We're going to have lawyers in all the major polling locations across the country. We have lawsuits in 81 states right now.
81 states, you say? Having no idea how many states or jurisdictions exist in the country your committee is trying to take over is downright Trumpian. As is thinking it's a flex having that many lawsuits. I don't know anybody who brags about having 81 lawsuits other than a Trump. Hey Reese, how you doing? I'm good, man. I got 5 lawsuits filed against me last week, and I filed another 10. Now, if you really want to be a Trump, Laura, what we really need you to do is get with some D-list celebrities, like preferably somebody with a scandal that's going to alienate people.
All right, Paula, what are we having for dinner?
Well, let me tell y'all something. I agonized over what to cook.
Oh, really?
I agonized, not
We're
knowing that.
easy, Paula. Why?
And you know what I decided, y'all? I decided that when people hear my name, they think of Mama's cooking.
Nice work. Now, I do have to subtract points since Paula Deen didn't go with slurs in the video, which I'm kind of surprised she didn't, since it's such a big part of her vocabulary. But your next task, can you express complete ignorance of the law?
I think the most recent thing to report is that we are working hard on election integrity, and we just announced last week that we have 100,000 committed people who are going to be trained as poll workers. So, Eric, leading up to this election, I think we can all see the most important thing, aside from getting out the vote, is protecting that vote. We now have the ability at the RNC not just to have poll watchers, people standing in polling locations, but people who can physically handle the ballots.
Well done. Well done. I mean, with partisan poll workers handling ballots, why have an election at all? Solid. Now how's your lying?
That's what they do at Trump rallies, except at Trump rallies, Sean, It's authentic. We don't manufacture anything like this. When Donald Trump visits a bodega in Harlem, that's not manufactured either. Whenever he visits a Chick-fil-A in Atlanta, not manufactured.
Sensational. But can you scare people?
Donald Trump gets in for 4 more years. The jig is up for them. The gloves are off. There are no holds barred here. He is going full throttle. He's not worried about winning another election. It's 4 years of scorched earth when Donald Trump retakes the White House.
Now that is exactly what most sensible people, including the moderates you're trying to attract, want to hear. Now, do the people interact with you? Can you move them to action?
Okay, next question. Oh, this is a nice one. Is Lara Trump as stupid as she appears to be? What is it that's stupid? Let me ask you that, sir or ma'am.
Now that's a Trump right there. Now that's a Trump right there. That is a Trump. I'll be honest, Laura, your Trump resume is impeccable, but I don't know. Something's missing. Like, I can't put my finger on it. Like Donald had the Access Hollywood tape and the comments about Ivanka. You got anything off-putting that nobody asked to hear?
Ron, I have a question. Is it legal to do?
Yeah, well, you know, they say sodomy is illegal now. Yeah, in the Bible. Is it legal in the Bible to do that? Like with your husband, of course.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, once you are married, everything is legal and everything that everyone enjoys, whatever it may be.
I think she's in. I mean, you've proven yourself to be as strong a Trump candidate as any, but of course the decision doesn't rest with me. Ultimately, it's up to the big guy if he upsets you.
They used to refer to Lara Trump before she married Eric as horseface. It's really unbelievable because not only did Donald used to do that, but so did Don Jr. and so did Ivanka when they were referring to her. I mean, I've talked about this quite a bit. It's cruel, even if it's true.
Oh, I guess try again next election. I can't believe he said even if it's true.
It's cruel, even if it's true. It's cruel, and it just, as you said, it goes to his character. But that doesn't seem to stop. That doesn't seem to stop his supporters at all. They actually find it funny.
So Cohen, the Trump family, Donald Trump, Don Jr., were calling Eric's wife, or at the time girlfriend, a horseface, the same name that Donald Trump uses to refer to Stormy Daniels?
Yes.
A single person that wishes to come forward and to say that I mistreated them.
Everybody black. Pretty much everybody black. Like past or present. Everybody black. Even imaginary black people. Like the people from the kids from the Boondocks and Granddad. Hi, my name is Reese Waters, and I'm troubled. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the page. So, y'all probably remember the last time we had to remove Candace Owens from the premises.
Hold on. In West Philadelphia, born and raised, on the playground is where I spend most of my days. Okay. Chilling out, maxing, relaxing, all cool and all, shooting some b-ball outside of school. When a couple of guys, they were up to no good, started making trouble in my neighborhood. I got in one little fight.
I am having the blackest week ever.
No. We are not doing this. Links to those videos are in the description, but it had been a while since we heard from Gabrielle Confederacy, aka Candace Owens. I thought she might have gone away. And then I saw this. And I thought, wow, maybe she has finally seen the light and is trying to make amends the right way for her baby shower. Amongst other things. But then I press play.
All right, I don't think I have done a live on Twitter, or live on X rather, in such a long time that you obviously have to know that this is something that is really upsetting me for me to be able to jump on here. I think I have, when I say tried to take the high road over the last couple of months to the point that it has given me a nosebleed.
You think when Candace Owens gets a nosebleed, like what color? Does it come out white? Or like, does it come out black? Is that where the black, it's on the inside? It's on the inside. Inquiring minds want to know.
I have like nothing left here, and there is so much that I would like to say, and there is so much that I am fighting for my right to say, but today I just feel like we crossed into another territory. Everyone can see what's happening. Everyone can at first see the public attacks on me over my, I shouldn't even say it's a belief, just the truth that Christ is king, and something that I will never stop saying as a Christian, nothing that I will apologize for.
Yes, the rampant persecution of Christians. Yes. It is the Christians that are being persecuted, right? Like the ones that want to codify America as a Christian nation. Though they are the ones that are being okay, I understand. Not the Muslims, no, not even the Jews. No, it's the Christians. Got it.
But these attacks against me and my character have not stopped, and I think partially it's being driven by the fact that they have not been successful. It has not. There's obviously a very real attempt to smear and to libel me out of existence, to make my audience not want to follow me anymore. And there is an entire network working behind the scenes to make that happen. But a couple of days ago, my PR person received a tip from someone that a Daily Mail journalist who I had never heard of was asking weird questions about me, like basically working on a hit piece. Now, I want to be clear here. I do not at all blame the journalist. I don't blame the Daily Mail. I read the Daily Mail. I used to write op-eds for the Daily Mail, so I am not saying this as like I'm here to diss the Daily Mail. I understand that when somebody is leaking stories and claiming to have an inside track or some inside knowledge about someone, it is tempting for a journalist to get involved. But to this level, I've just never seen anything just more fictitious and made up. And someone that is going to publish something or thinks that they have a story here when everything that they have learned has been wrong.
Wait, so you mean to tell me that people are trumping up charges in order to make a case against you that you don't feel like is right? Tell me more.
So I'm going to read you the email that I received from this Daily Mail reporter, because we were like, what is this about? Like, actually, could you possibly be writing about that hasn't already been written about me leaving the Daily Wire? Well, here's what they wrote. I am currently writing a story focused on how Candace Owens came to leave the Daily Wire. Oh, okay. I wonder what or who is behind the story. Any response, either in an official statement or from sources close to Candace on the following information, would be greatly appreciated. We have heard from multiple sources that Candace's dismissal from the Daily Wire was in large part, quote unquote, financial. That her show just wasn't making the company enough money to justify continuing her employment. It is also claimed that she, quote unquote, blamed producers for her show's failures and that she refused to work with certain advertisers. We have also heard that senior management felt they had a moral obligation to terminate Candace's employment due to what has been described as her increased anti-Semitism and her conspiracy theories.
So you mean to tell me that they came with a case about your show being unsuccessful, even though that is something that you can actually see and look up for yourself? There was a case that was made that your show was unsuccessful and you were unpopular with advertisers to make the case of why it was canceled and you lost your platform, as opposed to, the ideological differences that would have been the obvious culprit. That is fascinating. I can tell you, I don't know of any other black person that has happened to. That is wild. Let me tell you, this is new territory.
Others have said that Candace was mean to and mistreated the junior staff members at the Daily Wire, including, ready guys, makeup artists and interns. One source described a scene in which Candace allegedly threw a canned drink at someone.
I could absolutely see you throwing a canned drink, especially if it was like a Snapple or like a Arizona iced tea or a Hennessy. I could see you throwing that for sure.
Okay. This is sending me. I'm now throwing canned drinks at employees, mean to junior employees, yelling at the makeup artist. Separately, what would Candace say to claims that she has been homophobic and anti-Semitic, particularly on her social media, and that she has peddled conspiracy theories? So here is what is clearly happening. The attacks on me over me not backing down on being a Christian are failing. So now we're just moving to full-on character mischaracterizations.
Wow, you mean to tell me they just assassinating your character for no good reason? Wow, that is crazy, because I could have sworn you were Miss always comply and whatever the people say about you has to be true, right? I thought you were Miss there's no deeper context. So I don't know what you're asking me to do here. Like, you are asking me to not believe the things that they're saying about you. I mean, don't you always believe the things that are said about us? I'm gonna go with them.
I have worked in politics for now 8 years. If you think that if there is a single person that wishes to come forward and to say that I mistreated them, I welcome you to do it.
Let's see. I will come forward. My mama, my dad, my sister, let me see, my cousins, my grandma, Frederick Douglass, Sojourner Truth, Huey P. Newton, Snoop Dogg, let me see, Gayle King, Oprah, Tweet, Omarion, Jay-Z, Beyonce, Solange, Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, Malia Obama, Sasha Obama, Maya Angelou, Chris Brown, Quavo, Hakeem Jeffries, Ayanna Presley, Jasmine Crockett, Smokey Robinson, 50 Cent, Rick Ross, Kendrick Lamar, Kyrie Irving, Jaylen Brown, Anthony Edwards, everybody black. Pretty much everybody black, like past or present. Everybody black. Even imaginary black people, like the people from the kids from the Boondocks and Granddad. Oh, and definitely George Floyd's family. See, you even mention them, and here they come.
I am the exact opposite human being. This is the most absurd thing that I've ever read in my entire life. The idea that I threw a canned drink at someone and it was fine and it just flew, like that employee didn't have a lawsuit that they could have, like, it is literally just invented in someone's head as part of a character attack on me. Now, I will tell you this, I am unbelievably close to my team at the Daily Wire. I am still close with my team at the Daily Wire. I still speak to my team at the Daily Wire. In fact, this past weekend, I was at the wedding of the most junior person at the Daily Wire, this young girl named Markella, who I absolutely love to work with every day. The makeup artist left the Daily Wire with me and is still working with me. Her name is Evelyn. My producer, my executive producer, I had the same one for the entire time I was at Daily Wire. She is on maternity leave, and when I just called her and told her this, she was like, nobody contacted me for this story, and I am your executive producer. Like, who is planting the story? Right? So I am not going to speculate because I don't need to speculate. I think everybody can see clearly what is happening here. Everybody knows what is going on here. And we're getting to the point where this is just torturous interference. This is basically like, I want to make it so that nobody will work with you. And since I know that Candace is a really hard worker, and I know that people actually love her, and that her entire team loves her, we're going to pretend it's the opposite so that other people who might want to work with her go, maybe not. She's like throwing canned drinks at people. She just gets angry at makeup artists and just like throws a soda pop. She's just like, take this Coca-Cola. I don't like the way my lashes are done today. That is the actual phase that we are at now, in the absolute desperation to defame me and to tarnish my name for the simple fact that I won't be apologizing for saying Christ is King. Christ is King, my friends. We're saying Merry Christmas again, and we're saying Christ is King, okay? So go on, write the article. I responded fully and gave them proof and contacts of every single person on my team that they could speak to directly. Shockingly, they didn't contact not only my producer, my associate producer, the junior associate. Nobody that actually worked on my day-to-day team for 3 years was contacted. So who's leaking this? What do you guys think? Who do you guys think is leaking this story, suggesting that I would ever mistreat an employee ever? It's not in my DNA, okay? You guys know I'm my granddad's girl. Like, my grandfather was a janitor that swept floors. The idea, the concept of me treating someone badly that is an employee, I would rather die into myself.
I could definitely see you treating someone badly. In fact, most of what I know about you is treating people badly and never listening to what more may be going on. So, off.
I have the opposite problem. I'm actually too nice sometimes. It's not easy for me, even when people, should be reprimanded. I usually pawn that task off to my husband because I don't like to do it. It makes me uncomfortable. I want people to be happy. It's why nobody ever leaves me. This is why the people that work with me have worked with me for years, like actual years. From my creative director to my assistant, who's now my manager, people stick around because I treat them well. And I take a lot of pride in that.
Okay, once we put aside the creepiness of that's why nobody ever leaves me. Ooh, that was Fatal Attraction. This actually explains a whole lot. The fact that you feel like I am just too nice. Like I never could treat anybody in a way. I don't even like when somebody needs to be addressed, I pawn it off to my husband. That actually explains a whole lot, because if that's the way you are on an interpersonal level, I can only imagine how far and how fast you will run away from, whole systems of abuse that need to be checked. Of course, I just want everybody to be happy. Of course you would go along with all the white supremacist bull. You just explained yourself perfectly. And in doing so, actually probably exonerated yourself from this whole thing, but it also made it so that there's absolutely no hope for you.
Forget the part about saying I'm anti-Semitic, racist, homophobic. That's just like it's 2024. You got to catch them all. You're being called that every week. But to suggest that I would ever treat people badly, I'm not going to stand for that. I'm literally just not going to stand for that. So that's it. Christ is Lord. And I just wanted to update you guys on that. And like I said, I am fighting for my voice. And when my show comes back in a couple of weeks, I'm gonna breathe some fire like a dragon, because to me, it's just time. And I, again, have tried to be so calm and take the high road and allow everybody to be speaking about me and speaking about my life for months. But this is just a bridge too far.
I mean, you could call me anti-Semitic. I mean, you could call me a self-hating black woman. You could call me but I didn't throw no drink. No, I did not throw that drink. Don't say anything. Ever say anything like that about me. Not to mention the fact that she said she's coming back, and I thought we were through. That's why I'm troubled. Jesus turned water into wine. Jesus turned water into wine, and he also multiplied the loaves of bread. And he repeated that miracle in Detroit because he turned 18 black people into 8,000. All right, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the page. My name is Reese Waters, and I'm troubled. Now, we've seen Trump's previous black voter drives. There were the AI photos. There was the shoes. Of course, there was the indictment.
I love that mugshot. I love that beautiful woman right there with the mugshot.
And who could forget the free chicken?
Come here, let me give you a hug.
Well, Trump decided church was the next obvious move, because we got to go to church, right?
Look at my African American over here. Look at him.
At least I had to. That was not a choice that I had growing up. Well, former President Donald Trump's campaign kicked off its Black Voter Coalition group on Saturday at 180 Church, a predominantly black worship center in Detroit. And, well, wait, let me see that again. What do they think this is? The Black Conservatives Foundation? Oh, y'all remember? Okay, you know what? Maybe this was just a bad shot. Maybe they just particularly captured all the white people that were there in that one particular shot. I need a wider view.
All those galleries in front of every picture who painted what period it represented. I was always listening to all kinds of different music and really supplemented my education.
That was not better. But you know what? That's your problem right there. We ain't showing up to hear no Ben Carson. That's where you went wrong at. At least Herman Cain used to bring free pizza. And shame on you, Ben Carson, stumping for Trump after we got evidence about what Trump planted in the Inquirer about you during the trial. Now look at you.
All those galleries in front of every picture who painted what period it represented.
In addition to the former Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, there was also Representative Byron Donalds, because of course, and also John James. During the event, Trump hinted at Donalds being a potential vice presidential candidate, asking the crowd for their opinion and noting his high ranking on the list. And why not? A black man yearning for Jim Crow is hard to find. Well, at least it should be. I'm sure Tim Scott would sign up if you could understand his answer. But Tim, Byron, let me holler at you for a second. Just out of curiosity, what makes you think a man who wouldn't have a black accountant back in the day, who refused to accept a black winner of The Apprentice because he didn't think the public would accept it?
On this phone conversation, I was told exactly what Donald Trump said. Yes, the N-word and others in a classic Trump goes nuclear rant. And when he'd said them, during production he was mic'd, and there's definitely an audio track.
What makes you think that kind of man would pick a black VP? I'm just wondering. You have both spent a lot of time and political capital. You got us all out here laughing at you for your shoe shining and your shuffle. To what end? Do you really think he's going to pick a black vice president? You know what? I'm gonna let y'all waste your time because this is providing a lot of content for me. I don't even know why I'm complaining. Who else was there? Oh, so they just put all the black people on stage? They just went and rounded up all the black people and put them on stage so they could have a nice little photo op? That wasn't obvious when they decided to do that? And what did you tell the people to get all the black people to go up on stage to make sure that you were making a show of the fact that they were there, acting like we shooting a college brochure or something like that? That is crazy. Even American Airlines wasn't this obvious. By the way, we have seen incidents like this before where the Black for Trump events just get totally infiltrated and mobbed because they couldn't find enough black people to fill it out. I mean, y'all not gonna leave us nothing. Not even the places we don't want to be. You're not even going to leave us the places that we don't even want to be. How could you? Is there nothing left for us? Is nothing sacred? The Trump campaign highlighted the economic achievements for Black Americans during his presidency, such as, you'll never guess, low unemployment rates. Yay! They went to low unemployment rates. Of course they went to low unemployment rates. If you had low unemployment rates and HBCU funding, come on down. Come on down. He also mentioned increased household income, but why stop there, Trump? Tell him how you appointed 53 appeals court judges and not one was black. That's right. Yeah, why don't you tell him that? Why don't you tell him no black appointee in the judicial system? Trump had no black senior White House staff and was the first without a single Hispanic since Reagan. Why don't you go with that? You always big on the numbers. Now, all of this tells you exactly how confused you would have to be to show up to something like this. That's right, confused as a guy in a Blacks for Trump t-shirt holding a pride flag with Confederate bars. That confused. Who authorized this anyway? I need to know who authorized this event. Like, who is the pastor? That's the pastor? That is the pastor of this church. What is he even doing there? Asking for biscuits? Oh, I get it. He's selling t-shirts. And they look just as unseasoned as I thought that they would. This is sad. They didn't even have enough black people for a choir.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to Trump. Happy birthday.
I absolutely refuse to believe that black people did his hair. Absolutely not. I refuse to believe black people did his hair. No way they would have let him leave that dry. He must have came to this event because he knew it was going to be a bunch of white people there and said, I need a re-up. You know, I need a re-up. Something about him did look kind of familiar though.
A person that comes to your aid helps you all the time, and then when he really wants to come to your aid, suddenly he's a racist. When he was the first one to say that black people matter to him, he said it directly to me. I'm sorry about that. He said it directly to me I forgot, not Joseph Caterson, but Miami Nights.
But he's done so much for the black community.
Sir, he did so much for the black community.
I knew it. I knew I had seen him before. Now, how do they get these people from place to place? Next thing you know, they're in the Bronx. Now they're in Ohio. Now they're in Michigan. How do these people travel? I don't understand where are these caravans? Is there some kind of Trump Underground Railroad just shuffling derelicts from city to city? Now, Trump's initiative is seen as an attempt to match the black outreach efforts of Biden's campaign, which recently launched its Black Voters for Biden-Harris group in Philadelphia. Biden and VP Kamala Harris credited black voters for their 2020 victory and criticized Trump's history on racial issues, including his actions on January 6 and his stance on the Central Park 5. Despite Trump's efforts, some black voters remain skeptical. Comments from focus group participants suggest that Trump's legal troubles didn't resonate with their experiences. Additionally, the campaign faced challenges due to the earlier closure of several RNC minority centers. And you gotta wonder exactly how legitimate that outreach is when they close the outreach minority centers. That tells you exactly how serious he is. Trump's campaign is said to be bolstered by endorsements from popular black cultural figures and support from black Republicans who are organizing events to engage black voters. This includes efforts by Senator Tim Scott, who announced a $14 million black voter outreach campaign, and Representatives Byron Donalds and Wesley Hunt, who are hosting events to discuss the black male vote. Let's take a look at some of these endorsements. Oh, I miss 1988. I really do. That was a marvelous year. As Trump continues his campaign, his next event will be a rally in Philly, offering another opportunity to connect with black voters and refine his message ahead of the upcoming election. But of course, not before they lie about this event.
Biden's not doing anything like that. Look at the contrast of just this weekend. You got Donald Trump in Detroit talking to 8,000 people, and then at a black church, of course.
See, the thing is, because Jesus turned water into wine. You know, Jesus turned water into wine, and he also multiplied the loaves of bread. And he repeated that miracle in Detroit because he turned 18 black people into 8,000. That's what it is. He turned, it was 18 black people and a couple was biracials. So it was 19 and a half black people, and he turned it into 8,000. It was amazing. It was incredible. Now, as far as Trump's sound from the weekend.
He doesn't even know what the word inflation means. I don't think if you gave him a quiz, I think he should take a cognitive test like I did. I took a cognitive test and I aced it. Dr. Ronnie Johnson, does everyone know Ronnie Johnson, congressman from Texas? He was the White House doctor. And he said I was the healthiest president he feels in history. So I liked him very much immediately. In fact, he said if I didn't eat junk food, I would live to 200. That's what he said. But I said, Ronnie, should I take a test? He said, well, you know, it's Walter Reed. It's sort of a public hospital. If you don't do well, they're going to find out about it. I said, well, you know, like I'm a smart person. How tough is it? He said, it gets very tough as you get to the middle of it. And I did something that he's never seen done. I aced it. I got every question right.
The man forgot the name of the physician he was lying on in reference to his cognitive test. Woo! I can't wait for the next MAGA So Crazy. I cannot wait for the next MAGA So Crazy. And by the way, if you missed the first roundup of all the craziness of MAGA, I'll put that link in the description as well. I'll put that out on Friday. I think I'll put the next one out on Friday. It seems like a good weekly thing to keep up. As long as they keep acting up.
I would like black kids to be completely empowered, to know that they are beautiful in their blackness. But in order to do that, I don't have to make white kids feel bad for being white.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait, first of all, you're not going to speed past that like you didn't just say what you just said.
Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the page. My name is Reese Waters, and I'm troubled. Here I was minding my own black business, perusing YouTube, and I see Condoleezza Rice destroys The View on DEI. Condoleezza Rice leaves them stunned and silent on CRT. And I went and checked out this video. It turns out that it is 2 years old. I have no idea why it has all of a sudden taken the right-wing blackosphere by storm, but I went and watched the video anyway. And you know what? I'm really glad that I did, because it was so instrumental in pinpointing exactly what my problem is with black conservatives. Let's check out the video. She opens up, coincidentally, talking about January 6th.
First of all, let me be very clear. I said at the time, January 6th was wrong. I called it an assault on law and order and an assault on our democratic processes. So full stop, it was wrong. Law enforcement will determine what happened there, and those who violated the law ought to be punished. Now, I think what Senator McConnell may be referencing is, yes, it's time to move on in a lot of ways. I'm one who believes that the American people are now concerned about their what we call kitchen table issues, the price of gasoline, inflation. We ought to move on to the next generation, move ahead and deal with the American people's issues.
Well, it's going to be kind of hard to move on when he keeps bringing it up.
Well, thank you very very much. And you see the spirit from the hostages, and that's what they are, as hostages. They've been treated terribly and very unfairly, and you know that, and everybody knows that.
In fact, they've said so much that MAGA is now having trouble defending their own rhetoric about January 6th.
But you can't police people for being anti-Israel or pro-Israel. You can police people for violating the law, and we have seen some of that with some of these protests.
Okay, so you agree that people who break in and vandalize a building should be prosecuted?
Exactly.
Okay, I'm just checking because you did help raise money for people who did so on January 6th.
It's also kind of funny you keep saying, we'll get to the bottom of it, we'll get to the bottom of it.
It's really politically expedient for Mitch McConnell to say, let's move on, let's move on. The problem is that past will become prologue if we don't find out exactly what happened January 6th.
And we will.
So it's not time now.
We will find out.
We must find out before moving on.
We will find out. But I'm going to tell you, I live in California, not Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm.
And the American people do have other concerns that we ought to be thinking about and talking about.
Respectfully,
and
Madam Secretary, I think
let me finish now, Sonny. I also know that as a government and as a country, we've got to be concerned about the things that are making life hard for Americans and hard for American families.
When the other hosts say, oh, we need to get to the bottom of it, and we will. When is the moment when it's okay to start investigating to get to the bottom of it? But you know what? I do see where you're coming from, because who wouldn't want to just move on? In fact, there isn't a sad day in America that you wouldn't want to just move on from, right? Like the Civil War or Jim Crow or the Chinese Exclusion Act or Japanese internment camps, Trail of Tears. Let's just move on. America needs to move forward. We need to focus on the things that are affecting us today. You wouldn't happen to have been in the Bush administration, would you? Oh, you were. That's right. You were in the Bush administration. Now all of a sudden it makes perfect sense, because like with the WMDs and the war in Iraq. Let's move on. We want to focus on gas prices. That makes a whole lot of sense. And you know what, Condoleezza, I actually did a little bit of research, and I found out, I don't know if you know this, but 100% of criminals in prison right now have been convicted of something that happened in the past. Let's just move on. You know what I mean? Let's just move on. You know what I mean? Look, we need to focus on the things that are affecting Americans right now.
First of all, parents ought to be involved in their children's education.
should.
Their children are in school 7 hours. That's a very formative period. And I think parents ought to have a say. We used to have parent-teacher conferences. We used to have PTAs. There are lots of ways for parents to be involved, and they should be.
The parents are involved. They're banning books. And I mean, if you can't trust Mothers for Liberty to discern what's right for your child, then who can you trust?
My parents never thought I was going to grow up in a world without prejudice, but they also told me that's somebody else's problem, not yours. You're going to overcome it, and you are going to be anything you want to be. And that's the message that I think we ought to be sending to kids. One of the worries that I have about the way that we're talking about race is that it either seems so big that somehow white people now have to feel guilty for everything that happened in the past. I don't think that's very productive. Or black people have to feel disempowered by race.
Now we get to the heart of the matter, the victim mentality, which is something that gets thrown at people in my space all the time. You have a victim mentality like you found some sort of secret sauce to self-actualization. I do not have a victim mentality because I'm special. Here's the crazy thing. A victim mentality is a choice and is completely independent of acknowledging societal reality. I know it's crazy because of how special you convince yourself that you are. I know it's crazy. You can do both. You can acknowledge societal inequities without having a victim mentality. I know it's crazy. I know it's crazy. Just look at my own life. And I mention this just as a point of fact. but I went to one of the most prestigious high schools in America, certainly one of the most prestigious ones in Washington, D.C. I went to Columbia University where I was an economics major. I decided to go into comedy. I appeared on Comedy Central, David Letterman, Craig Ferguson. I decided to go into sports. I appeared on ESPN and NBC Sports. I decided to go into news and ended up here in D.C. at the CBS affiliate. And here I am right now podcasting, doing YouTube and all that good stuff. Does it sound like I have a victim mentality? Huh? Like, does it sound like I'm sitting around feeling bad and sorry for myself? Does it sound like that? Does it sound like I didn't aspire to great things? But apparently acknowledging societal trends going back hundreds of years means you have some sort of victim mentality. And the other thing that's kind of funny is that when people that have accomplished something speak in this space, say Colin Kaepernick or LeBron James or even Jamel Hill, what's the thing people toss out at them? Well, if America's so racist, look how good America has been to you. Oh, so people that have accomplished something can't speak on this because America has apparently been good to them. But then when people that you feel like haven't accomplished as much, they have a victim mentality. That's a trick bag. That's the trick bag. That is the trick bag. We're not going to hear from people if you haven't accomplished to a certain level because you have a victim mentality. But by virtue of your own success, no, I will not listen to the people that have accomplished something who feel the exact same way. That's a nice trick. Now, I want to go back to something that she said earlier.
My parents never thought I was going to grow up in a world without prejudice, but they also told me that's somebody else's problem, not yours.
Now, this makes a whole lot of sense because as a parent, I understand communicating to a child to lift any ceiling that she may perceive that she can do anything and it's somebody else's problem. But the reality is that it's all of our problem. Like, imagine if every black parent told their child that's somebody else's problem. Like, on an individual basis, you would feel empowered, but what you're also doing is abandoning the struggle for true equality and leaving it to the rest of us. That's a very I'm not black, I'm OJ way to view life. Look at our freedom fighters that we've had throughout history. Just pick anyone that comes to mind. Shirley Chisholm, Frederick Douglass, Sojourner Truth, Medgar Evers, Fred Hampton, obviously MLK. Just think about their parents telling them that yes, society has not been fair to our kind, but that is somebody else's problem. Imagine where we might be today if not for people like that who took it as all of our problem and decided it was up to them to do what they could to make things better for their kids, as opposed to just telling them it's somebody else's problem. Oh, but I forgot. It's magically fixed now. I forgot that it's magically fixed now. I totally forgot that we solved racism. When was it? 1987. Yeah, I forget that we totally solved racism in 1987, and now we don't need to talk about it. We just magically, people have been racist since the dawn of man. Men have been tribalists and have sought ways to exclude other groups since we first set foot on the earth. But all of a sudden, today, it's over.
I would like black kids to be completely empowered, to know that they are beautiful in their blackness. But in order to do that, I don't have to make white kids feel bad for being white. It goes back to how we teach the history.
That's what I'm saying.
We teach the good and we teach the bad of history.
Yep,
but what we don't do is make 7- and 10-year-olds feel that they are somehow bad people because of the color of their skin. We've been through that, and we don't need to do that again.
Okay, this is the second time we mentioned white kids feeling bad for their being white. Why do they feel bad? Huh? Why exactly are the white kids feeling bad? So is it the behavior of their forefathers was so criminal and savage that their ancestors feel bad, and we are working to evolve society by not acknowledging it? That's it? By not acknowledging it and not learning from it. That is how we move forward from behavior so wrong that their ancestors feel bad, we just gonna turn a blind eye. That's how we learn from it. Those who do not learn from history are destined to move forward. Is that how you believe that goes? Is that how you believe it goes? And that is, if learning and evolving from it is truly the goal, right? Like, if the goal is moving forward as a society, then that is the logic that you would take towards that. But instead, it sounds like the goal is is let's just move on, right? Your goal wouldn't be a January 6th-ish, let's just move on and turn the page now. Now, would it? That wouldn't be your approach. And you know, it never ceases to amaze me that black people can experience this kind of racism that she talked about on her own. She talked about her own experience with racism. Black people can experience that, but white kids are too fragile to even hear about it. Wow, that is quite a line we are cutting through society. They are so delicate, they can't even hear about stuff that we actually are experiencing. Not actually go through it. We're not asking them to change places. We're not asking them to experience it, but to hear about it. That is too much. You tell me what it does for a kid's self-esteem to know that their experience is something that's too wretched for their fellow kid to even hear about.
It goes back to how we teach the history.
That's what I'm saying.
We teach the good and we teach the bad of history.
Yeah,
but what we don't do is make 7 and 10-year-olds feel that they are somehow bad people because of the color of their skin. We've been through that.
How you gonna do that, Condi? I'm just like, how you gonna do that? How you gonna teach the good and bad of history if apparently it just leads to white kids feeling bad about themselves? Like how do you do that? I would love to know how you thread that needle. And I would also challenge you and say, if in fact you have children who do feel bad because of what they're learning in their history class, that is called empathy. We might actually be making steps towards a better society if you have people who feel something when they learn about the crimes of America's past. If not, you just got a generation of kids with no knowledge of history. And you tell me how that impacts how kids feel about themselves without the understanding of the explanation of our current situation. If you have no historical context for the realities of today's America, you tell me how that makes a kid feel about themselves. Oh, well, I guess black people just must be inferior. It's just something in the melanin. It's just inferior. Why do they all live on that certain part of town? You know, because they got the good basketball courts. Because they got the good basketball courts. That's why the black people all live over there. I don't know why none of them came over here, because it's nice over here and they have good groceries. I don't know why that is. It's just, they just love basketball. Huh, that's funny. That sounds exactly like right-wing media today. We already have that generation raised with no knowledge of history.